Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today guys I just want to do an update on one of my old builds that was pretty popular, and I've also had some of you guys asking if this particular build still works in the current state of the game. Now I don't think I really had a name for the build, I just titled the video like Acid is OP, because it was at the time. It was a corrosive build that shredded the apocalypse difficulty more than Tony Hawk shredded the friggin' skate park. It was really friggin' strong, but then it got nerfed. All corrosive and bleed did receive a pretty hefty nerf to both their damage and their duration, which did kind of kill my original build a little bit, but this updated version of the build still absolutely slays apocalypse difficulty. It just definitely isn't as strong as what I showcased in that build when they first did that update. Now fast forward to the present, we did receive a patch like a week ago. I can't remember how long that patch came out, but we did receive a patch not too long ago, which did buff a lot of status effect damage like bonus rings, and also Ritualist received a nice plus 5% to its damage perk. So now instead of 20% when enemies affected by a status effect, it is now 25% when enemies affected by status effect, which is a pretty big increase. This Ritualist is already strong, now it's even stronger. So I think overall status effect received like a 10 to 20% increase across the board. Most people are going to be using the items that did get increased. They're pretty meta, especially if you're trying to build into status effect builds. So overall that patch was pretty good because now it makes my corrosive build just a little bit more smoother. So if you didn't check out my first corrosive build video, I will leave a link in the description below. I'm probably going to do a much better job explaining everything over there than what I will here. I'm mainly just going to go over everything that has been changed and updated with this particular build, and maybe go over some of the like status effect changes that did happen with the recent patch. So what makes this corrosive build or other corrosive builds so good? Well, we have some amazing damage over time. Our sustainable damage is just absolutely through the roof because we're able to put 7 corrosive dots on the target at once. They're going to be cooking faster than a packet of 2-minute noodles. We do have pretty good AoE with Ritualist's Prime perk, just being able to spread status effects when we kill enemies. Exploring with Ritualist's Prime perk is just absolutely disgusting. It's arguably one of the best Prime perks in the game. We do have decent survivability with some of the trait cards that we are running. We have really good mod duration, so we're just able to have our mods out for longer, blasting enemies for longer. And of course, the main thing is this build is a hell of a lot of fun to play. I will say this build is definitely not as strong as the one I showed in the past, but it still does put bosses away fairly quickly. And I do always find myself going back to this build. I used to call it the Old Faithful because it was just so easy to use. You just kind of fire all the mods, they do their thing. You just apply the corrosive status effects and then you just watch the enemy die. It's just a very straightforward, easy build to use. It's very fun. It might not be as strong as what it was before the nerfs, but it still definitely slaps apocalypse difficulty. Okay, so moving on over to the gear and the traits, guys. So first up, I didn't explain it in the intro, but if you did watch my previous video, you will know that we are using Challenger and Ritualist. Ritualist is going in first. The Prime perk is just absolutely disgusting with Ritualist. Really makes going from point A to point B an absolute breeze. The skills we are using is Miasma. You could actually use any skill if you really want to. I mean, Eruption's not going to do that much damage because we're only applying one status effect. Death Wish give you a nice 50% increased damage. We have that many sources of damage. You're probably going to get a lot of life steal from that. Like Death Wish definitely works, but I think Miasma is just better overall. We can apply an extra corrosive dot on the target to help stack more damage, and we can apply all other status effects which help us do more damage as well. So I think Miasma is just like the best fit for this build. And then for the Challenger skill, we are using Rampage. The main reason I got Rampage here is just for our shotgun to help it reload faster. So when we have the corrosive rounds on, we can keep pumping corrosive rounds out. And the movement speed. I like the Rampage movement speed. You just run around blasting enemies with shotgun. It feels really good. For the armor I am wearing, we got Zealot's hat, Void Capra's body, Leto Mark II leggings, and also the Void wraps. Feel free to put on whatever you want. We do have the strong back trait card, so you can wear like much heavier armor. For the relic, I've got the Quilted Heart. If you don't want to use the Quilted Heart, by all means, a Profane Heart. I finally got it. I know I haven't showed it off in my builds because I just didn't have it. I couldn't get the Abyss to fucking spawn, man. It was a joke. It was a joke! But I finally got the Profane Heart, and yeah, you know, this is a fantastic heart because you're just going to get an extra 3% bonus lifesteal, and you don't have to use it, so it's just nice to have on and just don't have to worry about it. But I do like the Quilted Heart more because the infinite stamina is just much nicer just to run around areas a lot quicker. For the upgrades, I have got increased elemental damage, mod and skill cast speed, and also mod duration. You could go for negative 10% to mod cost. Just went more moderation because we're already like building into that. Now moving on over to the weapons, guys. First up, we do have the Sparkfire shotgun. I absolutely love the Sparkfire shotgun. It's probably one of the better shotguns now. The forward scattergun is just really slow. You do have to go like pretty heavy into fire rate, which I wish they would buff. If you're going to nerf crit damage and crit chance for range, please give us fire range. So getting back on track here, sorry, but we are using the Sparkfire shotgun. You can use whatever gun you want as long as it's got a mod slot available. I was playing around with a lot of other long guns, but I just felt like I got the most amount of damage out of the Sparkfire shotgun. Plus it applies another burning dot, which does help with our damage overall. So we have corrosive rounds and also featured wounds here. The main reason we want this mod and mutator is just so we can apply another stack of corrosion. So we get 2 stacks of corrosion with the Sparkfire shotgun when we do have the corrosive round up, and we are increasing our acid damage as much as possible. So when you have corrosive rounds on Sparkfire, it does do more damage because of those 2 increases that we have with our ring and our necklace. So yeah, you can use whatever weapon you want. Just make sure you have a mod and a mutator slot open. But just remember, I think I was just getting the most amount of damage out of Sparkfire shotgun. So take that information how you will. For the melee weapon, no surprise here, I don't think. Huntress Spear, just so we can, you know, have a melee weapon we can throw at distance. And this melee weapon packs a punch because it's going to be applying 2 corrosive dots onto the target. So there we go, just between the shotgun and the melee weapon, we're applying 4 right there. That's a decent amount of damage from like dots alone. So yeah, that's the main reason we're using Huntress Spear, to apply 2 corrosive dots through just the spear itself and also Tainted Blade. And then last but not least, for the handgun, we do have the Nebula. I think this is absolutely no surprise as well. The Nebula can also apply 2 corrosive status effects with the Nano Swarm. That got recently changed as well to apply the corrosive status effect, which is so strong. And then also the handgun itself, the corrosive like spray that it spews out, also apply the corrosive dot, a pretty decent one at that lasts for a pretty long time. Between the Nebula, the Spear, and the Sparkfire shotgun, we can apply 6 corrosive dots. Add in Miasma, there's 7. If you really wanted to, you could maybe take off Stone of Malevolence or Burden of Destroyer, maybe even Shadow of Misery, I don't know, and put Red Ring of Death there. You would get 8 corrosive dots on the target. I'm not sure if that's worth it in the long run, losing a nice damage bonus, but you could do that, and then you could have 8, which is just insane that you can have 8 corrosive stacked on the target at once. Add in a friend or 2, 16, 24. That is starts getting a little bit silly. That's kind of why they did nerf corrosive damage so much. I have put feedback on the Nebula. This is just going to help your Nebula recharge its mod power back a little bit quicker. So when it expires, you can just pretty much get ready to shoot it out straight away. It doesn't work that way, but 1 or 2 shots from the Sparkfire shotgun and the Nano Swarms are pretty much back. All right, guys, moving on over to the amulet and the rings. We do have the Alivium Enhancer. Now, this amulet recently got a buff. Very nice buff at that. All of the like elemental increasing amulets did get a buff. So we have the Alivium Enhancer, the Shock one, the Shock Device, and also the Talisman of the Sun had all got increased by 5%. And I felt like this is a really good change, because when they did originally do some updates, Corrosive was like up here, and then they nerfed it and went down here, and now they've added some nice changes, and they've brought most of the status effects back to being pretty decent. They're not like insanely good, but now they're at least balanced, and they just feel decent. They just feel decent. We do have the Acid Stone. The Acid Stone is going to increase our acid damage by 15%. So just between these 2 items here, we have 40% increase to acid damage. Nebula, Nano Swarm, acid damage. Hunter Spear, acid damage. And then obviously the Corrosive Round, acid damage. So all of this is going to get increased by these 2 things by 40%, which is nice. We have Burden the Destroyer, increasing our damage by 15%, all damage, very nice. Now for the next ring, I do have Shadow of Misery. Now Shadow of Misery did recently get a buff as well. It originally was 15% increase. Now it's 20% increase, which is, this is a really good ring. Just a flat 20% increase status effect damage. This is really nice. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, why don't I have the Singe ring on? We can apply burning damage, and the Singe ring would be a good option. I just thought mainly because we're doing a lot of dot damage, a lot of status effect damage, that 20% is much better than 12%. Mind you, single target, your shotgun's definitely going to be doing a lot more damage if you have the Singe ring on. but I think overall Shadow of Misery in this setup particularly, I think pulls a little bit ahead. It's 8% more than the Singeing, and because we're predominantly mainly using status effect, I thought, you know, the extra 8% would be a much better option. But again, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. And then of course the last ring is Stone of Malevolence. This is going to help us get our mod back a little bit quicker through elemental damage. Moving on over to the trait cards, guys. Now I have put 5 points in the ammo reserve. I got 5 points in the flashcaster. Max out Fortify for armor effectiveness, max out Vigor. I've got 7 points into Endurance. I've got 5 points into Spirit to try and get our mod back even quicker. Max out Expertise just to try and get Miasma and Rampage back a little bit faster. Max out Basking to give us more damage reduction. Maxed out Chakra so our mods stay out for longer. 5 points into Handling because we are using a shotgun. It just makes shotguns feel a little bit better. And then of course maxing out Siphoner. This is also going to be really good for survivability. And a really good concoction. I don't usually go over concoctions because I always friggin' forget about them, but one really good concoction is probably Tranquility Font. This is just going to be really good with shotgun. It's going to make the reticle a hell of a lot smaller, stops the sway, stops the recoil, kind of turns the Sparkfire into a bit of a sniper. Not that it is a sniper, but you know, it handles much better when you have Tranquility Font. And I suppose it goes in saying if you are using Tranquility Font all the time, you could probably take 5 points out of Handling and put 5 points into Regrowth. That would give you more survivability. Completely up to you. And that is basically it for the video, guys. Hopefully this build video did help you out. Just a quick little update. I didn't want this video to be too long. Hopefully I just whiz through this as fast as possible. No one wants to listen to my voice for too long. It gets boring, okay? Even though some status effect builds, especially Corrosive and maybe some bleed builds kind of did get nerfed, I think with the recent update to some of the status effects, it does bring them back up. They're not, like I said, they're not insanely OP now, but they are balanced middle ground. They are very strong builds. You are going to clear Apocalypse with them, but then they're not doing as much damage as like mod spam builds and like some invoker builds and some skill scan builds are currently right now. Definitely do not sleep on status effect builds now. I feel like Fire's got to be really strong now because that's one status effect that didn't actually get touched. Corrosive feels a bit better now with some of the changes to Ritualist and status effect like buffing rings. And I haven't really tried too much bleed builds. I think I need to get around to that, but I would like to think maybe bleed builds probably feel a little bit better with some of these changes too. So yeah, Corrosive feels good again. The new patch was a W and status effect builds just got a little bit stronger. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys. And until next time, stay safe. Peace out.